Earth, once a proud and thriving world, now drifts at the edges of the galaxy's memory. Forgotten by most of the universe, it has been centuries since humanity last engaged in any interstellar conflict. The world has become a quiet, isolated planet, overlooked and insignificant in the eyes of the advanced civilizations that now dominate the stars. The bustling metropolises that once hummed with the energy of discovery and exploration are now relics of a different era, as Earth turned its focus inward, rebuilding itself from its own conflicts, wars, and environmental collapse. Humanity, content with its solitude, has let its military fade into the past, preferring to focus on economic recovery and the slow, methodical process of healing a wounded planet. Peace, however, is always fleeting. Deep beneath the surface of Earth's battered terrain, a new energy source is discovered. Teraxium***, an incredibly rare and powerful element. To humanity, it's a potential key to rebuilding their technological edge. But to the rest of the galaxy, Teraxium is a priceless resource, worth waging war over. Word of its existence reaches the Galactic Emperor, a tyrant who has expanded his empire across countless systems. His forces are vast, his reach seemingly endless, and his hunger for power insatiable. The discovery of Teraxium on Earth places the planet squarely in his sights. Earth's leaders, unprepared for this level of attention, scramble to find a solution. The cold truth is clear: Earth stands no chance in a conventional war. The Galactic Emperor's forces have crushed far more advanced civilizations than humanity. The United Nations of Earth convenes in desperation, knowing that surrender would mean enslavement or annihilation. They have nothing to match the Emperor's military might, and time is running out. The Emperor's response is swift. He dispatches his most feared warriors, the Praetorian Legion. This elite force, handpicked from the Emperor's finest soldiers, are more than mere soldiers, they are walking weapons. Genetically modified for strength, speed, and endurance, and cybernetically enhanced with the latest technology, the Praetorians have earned their reputation across the galaxy as an unstoppable force. When the Praetorians arrive on a planet, resistance is often futile. Entire civilizations have fallen before them. Earth would be no different, the Emperor believes. His forces will land, claim the Teraxium, and crush anyone who dares stand in their way. Earth's leaders know the reputation of the Praetorian Legion well. No one in the galaxy has successfully resisted them. The knowledge of what is coming strikes fear deep into the hearts of Earth's commanders. Conventional tactics are off the table. With no hope of fighting on equal terms, the UN Earth Defense Council is left with one choice: something unconventional, something long forgotten. In a classified vault buried beneath the ruins of an ancient military complex, Earth's leaders rediscover a relic of their past: the Spartan program. It was an initiative developed during the darkest days of human conflict, a time when Earth was on the brink of destroying itself. Back then, war wasn't fought in space but on the ground, in the streets, and across continents. To survive, humanity engineered a new kind of soldier, blending the genetic codes of ancient warriors with cutting-edge enhancements. These were to be Earth's ultimate defenders, unmatched in combat, both physically and mentally. But as peace returned, the Spartan program was shut down, deemed unnecessary, and forgotten over the centuries. The Council is desperate. They reactivate the Spartan program, hoping it holds the key to Earth's survival. Deep in cryogenic stasis lies their last hope. Sergeant Lydia ***, the only fully operational Spartan ever produced. Her DNA, carefully modified to replicate the endurance and resilience of the ancient Spartans, was combined with technology that now seems ancient by modern galactic standards but remains highly advanced by Earth's own current capabilities. She is a relic of an era when warriors were forged through fire and blood, not machines. The decision is made quickly. They have no time to waste, and no other viable options. The order is given to wake Lydia from her long sleep. As the cryogenic chamber hisses and releases its grip on Lydia, her eyes open, immediately sharp and focused. She has been trained for war since childhood, conditioned both mentally and physically to withstand anything. There is no adjustment period. As the frost evaporates from her armor and skin, she is already calculating, assessing the situation. She knows why she has been awakened: war. The Council explains the dire circumstances. The Galactic Emperor's forces are on their way, and Earth's survival rests on her shoulders. Lydia listens but says little. Her silence isn't born of shock or disbelief, it's the silence of a warrior who understands her role. She has been prepared for this moment for her entire life. The world may have changed while she slept, but war never changes. She is not shaken by the magnitude of the task. To her, this is just another battle, another enemy, another opportunity to defend the land of her ancestors. It is the battle she was born for. Earth's leaders watch as Lydia begins to don her armor, a powerful suit of combat gear that fuses the best of human ingenuity with ancient designs meant for a warrior's battlefield. The armor is a relic, much like her, but it has been retrofitted with the most advanced weapons and systems available to Earth today. It is lighter, faster, stronger, made for someone like Lydia. As the suit connects with her nervous system, she can feel the raw power surging through her. Her physical strength is augmented, her reflexes sharpened to a deadly edge, and her senses heightened beyond what any normal human could ever experience. She is Earth's last line of defense. Alone, she is tasked with delaying the inevitable. But in the eyes of Earth's leaders, Lydia represents something far greater than just one soldier. She is a symbol. A symbol of the resilience, determination, and fierce independence that has kept humanity alive through its darkest days. As Lydia steps out of the vault, fully armored and ready, she doesn't speak of victory or glory. She knows the odds are against her. The Galactic Emperor's forces are vast, and she is but one soldier. But if humanity's history has taught anything, it's that even in the face of impossible odds, the human spirit is not so easily crushed. Lydia is not just a soldier. She is a Spartan. And as long as she breathes, Earth will not fall. The countdown has begun. The Praetorians are on their way, confident in their superiority. But they do not know the storm that awaits them. Lydia is ready. The arrival of the Galactic Emperor's fleet in Earth's orbit was a spectacle of intimidation. Thousands of ships filled the sky, casting shadows across cities and countryside alike. The Praetorian Legion, bred and designed for war, descended with confidence. They had subjugated countless worlds, always with the same ease and ruthlessness. Earth, a forgotten, backwater planet, was seen as just another easy target. Their objectives were clear: secure Terraxium at any cost. The first wave of Praetorians landed near key energy sites, prepared to sweep through Earth's sparse defenses. They anticipated minimal resistance, confident in their overwhelming technological and biological superiority. Their shock troops, heavily armored and cybernetically enhanced, moved swiftly toward the Terraxium extraction points. Earth's formal military forces, weakened by centuries of peace, offered little opposition. The few defensive stations in place crumbled almost instantly. The Praetorians, efficient and methodical, began their occupation with calculated precision. From their view, this was nothing more than another swift operation in a long list of conquests. Earth would soon be under the Emperor's control, its resources extracted, its population subdued. The situation seemed hopeless, and the Praetorians barely considered the possibility of real resistance. But Sergeant Lydia had already begun her counterattack. Alone, without the backing of a traditional army, she relied on something far more potent: her mind. Lydia knew that brute force wouldn't be enough to face the Praetorians head-on. She would need to think strategically, using the environment, Earth's terrain, and her advanced combat training to strike where it hurt the most. This wasn't about standing toe-to-toe with the invaders. It was about crippling them in ways they didn't expect. Lydia's first strike was swift and precise. She moved through the shadows, leveraging Earth's rugged terrain to remain undetected. Using EMP grenades, a low-tech but highly effective tool against the Praetorians' reliance on advanced systems, she targeted their supply lines. The first attack disabled a convoy of armored units, sending shockwaves through the Praetorians' ranks. As they scrambled to recover, Lydia moved in, using close-quarters combat to eliminate high-ranking officers in swift, calculated strikes. Her movements were fluid and precise, combining her genetic enhancements with decades of cryogenically preserved training. Every move had purpose, every strike lethal. Her tactics were guerrilla warfare at its finest: hit fast, hit hard, and disappear before the enemy knew what happened. She wasn't interested in large-scale engagements. Instead, she focused on disrupting the Praetorians' infrastructure. By targeting their energy extraction points and supply depots, she crippled their ability to maintain their operations. The Praetorians, used to overwhelming their enemies, had never encountered a foe like Lydia, someone who used their overconfidence against them, exploiting the gaps in their armor and strategy. As Lydia continued her attacks, the Praetorians began to realize they were facing more than just a minor rebellion. Their arrogance quickly turned into frustration. Reports of their squads being picked off by a single combatant circulated through their ranks, but they found it hard to believe. The efficiency of the attacks, the precision in targeting their officers and resources, suggested a much larger force. Praetorian commanders assumed they were up against an elite Earth force operating in small units, not understanding the reality that all this damage was being caused by a single warrior. The Praetorians, accustomed to dominance, were rattled. They weren't used to being outmaneuvered, and Lydia's attacks had exposed their vulnerability. What made things worse was that she struck without warning, disappearing before they could mount a defense. It was warfare on Lydia's terms, not theirs. Their attempts to adapt only led to more confusion as they spread their forces thin, trying to cover all possible angles of attack. And still, Lydia kept coming. Earth's population, too, began to take notice. Stories spread of a lone warrior, unseen yet always present, dismantling the Empire's best troops with ease. Whispers of a Spartan ghost filled the air, and hope, once extinguished, began to flicker. The idea that one person was holding the line against the Praetorians was almost mythological, and it didn't take long for Lydia's actions to inspire the human resistance. Isolated cells of rebels, who had been on the verge of surrender, began to regroup and reorganize, inspired by the legend of the Spartan warrior. Lydia's success became a rallying point, not just for those fighting on Earth, but for the idea that resistance, even in the face of overwhelming odds, was possible. For Lydia, the fight was never just about the skirmishes themselves. It was about showing both humanity and the galaxy that Earth would not fall easily. The Praetorians, for all their might and power, had underestimated not just her, but the resolve of the planet itself. Every victory she claimed wasn't just a tactical win, it was a statement. Earth's spirit, embodied in Lydia, refused to be crushed. As the Praetorians struggled to regroup, Earth's leadership sent a message to the Galactic Emperor, warning him of the Spartan warrior. The message was simple: Earth had more fight in it than expected. But the Emperor, far removed from the immediate battlefield, dismissed the reports. To him, it was inconceivable that a single soldier could pose a legitimate threat to his elite forces. He assumed this was a temporary problem, one that would resolve itself once the Praetorians adapted. The Emperor, after all, had conquered countless worlds. Earth, in his eyes, was no different. What the Emperor didn't understand, however, was that this wasn't just about a resource or a battlefield. It was about something far more profound: the human spirit's refusal to submit, even when faced with insurmountable odds. Lydia was the embodiment of that spirit, and as long as she continued her fight, Earth had a chance. She wasn't just fighting for survival. She was fighting to remind the galaxy that humanity could never be truly conquered. Lydia's victories, however small, were carving a path forward. The Praetorians may have had the advantage in numbers and technology, but they lacked the one thing that Lydia had in abundance: determination. And with each day that passed, that determination became more than just her own. It spread like wildfire through the hearts of Earth's people, rekindling their belief in a future where they wouldn't simply roll over and accept defeat. Lydia was no longer just a soldier. She was a symbol of defiance, a force of nature, and as the Praetorians would soon learn, one Spartan was more than enough to turn the tide. Word of Lydia's victories had spread far beyond Earth, reaching even the Galactic Emperor's throne. Reports of the Praetorian Legion's failures were hard to believe at first, but the footage was undeniable. Time and time again, the same soldier appeared, an unstoppable force moving through his finest troops as if they were mere obstacles. The Emperor, a ruler with an unyielding grip on hundreds of worlds, was not used to seeing his elite forces falter, let alone be outmatched by a single enemy. His interest, initially mild, began to grow. How could one warrior, a relic of a forgotten planet, cause such damage? His curiosity turned into something more serious. The Emperor called for full battle reports, pulling detailed intelligence on every failed operation. The footage of Lydia in action was analyzed by his top strategists. Her speed, her tactics, her ability to blend ancient hand-to-hand combat with advanced weaponry. She fought with a raw power and precision that surpassed even his genetically modified Praetorians. She wasn't just another resistance fighter, she was something else entirely. This intrigued him more than he would admit. He needed to know who she was and why she had been so effective. The Emperor understood that the situation required more than a brute show of force. His Praetorians had been trained to fight armies, not to hunt a single, highly skilled adversary. That's why he escalated the situation by deploying his Praetorian assassins, a group of specialized soldiers designed for covert operations, assassination, and hunting down high-value targets. Unlike the typical Praetorians, these assassins were equipped with stealth technology, adaptive combat skills, and cutting-edge weapons meant for silent and efficient eliminations. Their directive was simple: find Lydia and eliminate her before she could cause further damage. While the Emperor watched the preparation for this new strategy, Lydia was facing her own struggles. The constant battle was beginning to take its toll. She wasn't just a machine of war, no matter how much she had been trained to be one. Even a Spartan could feel the weight of relentless combat. The nights, when there was no immediate fight, were the worst. They allowed too much time for her mind to wander, for memories to surface, memories of her past life, her training, her purpose. In the quiet moments, Lydia reflected on her existence. She had been designed for war, her entire life geared toward a conflict that never came in her original time. She had trained relentlessly, pushing her body and mind to the limits, all for the defense of a world that seemed to have forgotten her. Now, centuries later, that war had finally arrived, but the enemies weren't the ones she had prepared for. The rules were different, the stakes higher. Ancient Spartan ideals of honor and valor clashed with the cold, calculated nature of modern warfare, where lives were reduced to numbers on a screen, and victories were measured in resources and strategic points, not personal sacrifice. These thoughts crept into her mind more often now. Was she simply a tool for destruction, built to kill? Or was there something more? Could there be purpose in what she was doing beyond the battlefield? She had become Earth's symbol of defiance, yes, but the cost of that mantle weighed heavily on her. Every victory came with a loss: people, homes, lives torn apart by the very conflict she was meant to end. The morality of her existence began to blur, and she found herself questioning whether she was truly saving humanity, or just prolonging its inevitable suffering. There wasn't much time to dwell on these questions. The Emperor's assassins had tracked her down, their precision and skill unmatched by any previous foes. The moment they struck, Lydia realized she was dealing with a different kind of enemy. They didn't charge in, guns blazing, like the typical Praetorian forces. No, these assassins were calculated, moving through the shadows, appearing only when they had the upper hand. The battle that ensued was brutal. Lydia's raw combat instincts, honed through years of training, were pushed to their limits. The assassins were faster than the Praetorians, more agile, and their technology allowed them to adapt to her tactics in real time. But Lydia was not one to be outmatched. She used the environment to her advantage, turning the chaotic battlefield into a strategic playground. Every step, every movement was deliberate, designed to force her enemies into positions where she could exploit their weaknesses. The fight dragged on, each side dealing blow after blow. Despite her tactical brilliance, Lydia couldn't escape unscathed. She sustained injuries, deep cuts and bruises that slowed her movements. She was human, after all, no matter how strong or fast. The assassins pressed their advantage, pushing her to the brink. But even in her weakened state, Lydia's will remained unbroken. she fought on, her Spartan spirit refusing to let her fall. In the end, she outlasted them, narrowly escaping with her life, but the encounter left her shaken. This was no longer just a fight for survival. The Emperor had made it personal. With the assassins defeated, Lydia knew what was coming next. The Emperor himself would soon arrive. He wouldn't leave Earth to chance any longer. He would come to finish the job, and he would bring the full might of his forces with him. Lydia couldn't do it alone anymore. She needed help. Reaching out to the scattered resistance forces, Lydia began to rally those who still had the will to fight. Her victories had inspired many, and now, those fragmented groups of rebels saw a chance to unite under a common cause. Earth, though beaten and battered, still had fight left in it. And now, with Lydia at the helm, they prepared for the final battle. Lydia didn't just represent physical strength. She embodied a legacy, one that reached back to ancient ideals of honor, courage, and sacrifice. Her existence was proof that even in the face of overwhelming odds, there was always hope. She was more than just a soldier, she was the living embodiment of the human spirit, forged in the fires of ancient wars and reborn in the crucible of a new one. As she stood among the newly formed resistance, bruised but not broken, Lydia understood that this battle was about more than just survival. It was about reclaiming their future, defending their world, and proving to the galaxy that Earth would not fall without a fight. The Emperor would soon learn that even his most powerful armies could not extinguish the flame of defiance that burned within humanity. Lydia would be ready. The Galactic Emperor arrived with a force unlike anything Earth had ever seen. His ships, vast and terrifying, descended through the clouds, darkening the sky as they stretched across the horizon. His elite forces, the final wave, were ready to crush the last pockets of resistance that remained. There was no subtlety in his approach, no strategic landing. The Emperor came with the sole purpose of wiping out what little hope Earth still clung to. He had decided that this war had gone on long enough. It was time to end it, and for that, he would do it personally. The presence of the Emperor on Earth sent a ripple of fear through the resistance forces. They had heard the stories. The man was more than just a ruler, he was a living legend, an immortal tyrant who had conquered systems far more powerful than Earth. His mere arrival cast a shadow over the battlefield, and even the bravest among them couldn't help but feel the weight of impending doom. Yet, despite the fear, there was something stronger, an unwavering belief in Lydia. She had become more than a warrior, she was a symbol of hope, and her victories had shown them that the impossible could be achieved. The resistance gathered for what they all knew would be their final stand. They took up positions across the barren wastelands, where the Terraxium fields stretched endlessly beneath the cracked earth. This would be the battlefield where the future of their planet would be decided. While Earth's forces clashed with the Emperor's armies, Lydia led a strike team through the chaos, focused on one goal: reaching the Emperor. The fighting was brutal, as the Emperor had brought with him his most elite guard, soldiers enhanced far beyond the capabilities of the Praetorians. These warriors were the best the Empire had to offer, trained for millennia and augmented with both technology and biology that far surpassed anything Earth had seen before. Lydia pushed through, fighting with a determination that outmatched even her own previous battles. The enemies were relentless, forcing her to tap into every ounce of strength and strategy she possessed. Her Spartan armor, a blend of ancient and modern technology, was pushed to its limits, as was her body. But she fought on, driven by the knowledge that this was the moment her entire life had been leading toward. Each clash, each step closer to the Emperor, was a test of her endurance, both physical and mental. Finally, the path cleared, and there he stood, the Galactic Emperor. His presence was overwhelming, a towering figure whose age was betrayed by neither weakness nor frailty. His armor, ancient and intricately designed, shimmered with technology far beyond Earth's understanding. He looked at Lydia with a cold, calculating gaze, one that spoke of centuries of conquest and an unshakable belief in his own power. This wasn't just a battle between soldier and ruler, it was a confrontation between two ideals: tyranny and freedom, domination and defiance. The Emperor did not waste time with pleasantries. The duel began immediately, the air crackling with energy as their weapons clashed. He was faster and stronger than any opponent Lydia had faced, his strikes backed by centuries of battle experience. Each blow was devastating, each movement precise, as though he were toying with her, measuring her abilities. He spoke between strikes, challenging her with questions of power, legacy, and the futility of resistance. To him, the war for Earth was inevitable, and her efforts, while impressive, were nothing more than the stubbornness of a dying world. But Lydia didn't fight just for herself. She fought for the ideals that had shaped her life: honor, courage, and the defense of her people. She had trained for this, lived for this moment, and while the Emperor's strength was formidable, it wasn't invincible. Her Spartan heritage gave her the edge that he could not foresee. Each time he knocked her down, she rose again, her determination unshaken. Their battle became not just a physical contest, but a clash of wills, as the Emperor realized that Lydia wasn't fighting for glory or conquest. She was fighting for something far more powerful: hope. In the heat of the battle, Lydia found an opening. It was small, barely perceptible, but in that moment, everything she had trained for came together. With a final surge of strength, she exploited the weakness, delivering a blow that pierced through the Emperor's defenses. The duel reached its climax, and in that critical moment, the balance shifted. The Emperor, stunned by the intensity of her attack, faltered. The tides had turned, and with one decisive strike, Lydia brought him down. But the victory came at a cost. Lydia, battered and on the edge of collapse, had given everything she had. The Emperor's fall sent a shockwave through his forces. Without their leader, the disciplined and unified elite guard fell into disarray. Chaos erupted as the resistance took advantage of the confusion. What had seemed like an unstoppable force began to crumble from within, and Earth's defenders, fueled by the sight of their enemy's downfall, pressed their advantage. The battle, once thought to be unwinnable, came to an end. The Galactic Emperor, the conqueror of worlds, lay defeated at the hands of one Spartan warrior. His forces, without his leadership, retreated in disorganized waves, no longer the unified threat they had once been. Earth had been saved, but at a staggering cost. The wastelands were littered with the remains of the battle, and the survivors, though victorious, felt the weight of the losses they had endured. Lydia, now a legend in her own right, stood among the wreckage, her armor cracked and bloodied, but her spirit unbroken. Earth had triumphed, not because of superior numbers or advanced technology, but because of the resilience of its people and the courage of one soldier who refused to give up. Lydia had become more than just a symbol of defiance. She was a reminder that even the most powerful empires could fall when faced with unwavering determination. In the aftermath of the battle, Lydia made a quiet decision. Her mission was complete, but she knew that Earth's future was uncertain. There would be more battles, more threats, and perhaps one day, they would need her again. She chose to return to cryosleep, to wait in the shadows until her world called upon her once more. Her legacy, however, would endure. The story of Sergeant Lydia, the Spartan who defied the Galactic Empire, would be told across the galaxy, a symbol of hope, resilience, and the unbreakable human spirit. Her fight was over, for now, but her story would never be forgotten. Lydia had shown that no matter the odds, humanity would always find a way to survive, to fight, and to prevail. In the end, it wasn't just about defeating the Emperor. It was about proving that even in the face of darkness, the light of human courage could never be extinguished.